Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little comfort blanket. You can do it in any yarn that you want. Use the crochet hook it tells you to use on your yarn label. I'll show you how to do the edges, to do the corners and to do this very simple pretty stitch. Do this pattern in any yarn. I'm going to do my sample in some chunky yarn so you can see the difference in the pattern. The chain count is 3. Leave yourself a tail. Wrap the yarn around your fingers and across. Put your hook under the bottom yarn and pull the other one through. Take the tail and hold it, and hold the other part of the yarn and just pull and it will slide up your hook. If you can't do that, if you're a utter beginner, put the yarn down, put your hook down, tie a knot, don't do the first one tight, and then tie one more knot, and that will be sufficient to hold the tail of your blanket. Now you're going to put your yarn over and pull through, and we're going to do a chain. Now do the chain in sets of 3 stitches. Don't count that first one as a stitch, that is just a loop. So pull through. Now you've made your first stitch. Yarn over and pull through, that's 2. Yarn over, pull through the loop, that's 3. Now do your foundation chain in sets of 3. Do it as long as you want it to be. Whether you're doing it for a single bed or a baby crib or a baby cot, do it the width that you want it to be in sets of 3. That's 1, 2, 3. So what we're going to do now is we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to go into the 6th stitch. The 6th stitch. Now those first 3 will make your treble crochet on the end of your blanket. Then you have 2 skip stitches. So we're going into the 6th stitch in the chain, and you're going to do 3 treble crochets all into the same stitch. So go through your stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, through 2 loops, yarn over and through 2 loops. Now do 2 more. Yarn over, through 2 loops, yarn over and through 2 loops. 1 more. So 3 of those stitches that you skipped becomes your treble crochet, and the other 2 is your space. That'll keep your blanket straight. Now skip 2 stitches, 1, 2. Make sure, because we've done 3 in here, make sure you're catching that first stitch there. So that's 1, 2. Skip those 2, and into the 3rd stitch you're going to do a cluster. That's 1, 2 and 3. Skip 2 stitches. Remember and skip this one. Your cluster's pulled your stitch. It's stretched your stitch, so that is your next stitch there. 1, 2, then cluster. Skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and cluster all the way to the last 3 stitches. So what I want to remind you is that when you've done your cluster, it's going to pull that stitch loose. Now that is your next stitch there, so skip that one and do your last cluster in to here. It's 1, 2 and 3. Now you've got 3 stitches left, 1, 2, 3. You're going to skip these 2 and do 1 treble crochet in to there. And this is what you have. You should have sets, clusters of 3. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and turn your work. Now into every stitch you're going to put 1 treble crochet. So yarn over and into the next stitch all the way along, 1 into the top of every stitch. You're going to go into the top of this chain to finish this row. Going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. So you're going to skip 2 stitches, the first one and the second one. So that should put you above the middle stitch in your cluster. You're going to do another cluster, so count 1, 2 and into the third stitch do a cluster and 3. I'm going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2 and cluster again. You're going to repeat that cluster row. 1, 2 and 3, all into the same stitch. Skip 2, 1, 2, put your yarn over and go into the third stitch and do your cluster. These are the 2 rows that you will keep repeating, the cluster row and the full crochet row. Skip 2, then cluster. We're just going to do a treble crochet into the top of that chain. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3 and turn your work, and this is what you get. We might see it better if I change the colour. There we go. That is how you're going to do this blanket. A cluster row, crochet row and a cluster row. So do not go into that little stitch. You're going into the next stitch. 1 into each stitch all the way along. And these are the 2 rows that you'll keep repeating for your blanket. And this is what you should get. A simple but beautiful stitch. So when you've made your blanket as big as you want it, you'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now down the side, I'm going to put one into the bottom of that stitch. Just push your hook through and do a double crochet. Now this is thinner yarn, this is double knitting yarn. So into the next space we're going to put 2 crochets go over to the next space and put 2 crochets all the way down the side of your blanket. So you'll put 2 crochets into each of your stitches. So now we're at the corner of the blanket. We're going to put 2 crochets, 2 chain and 2 crochets into the corner. It's 1 and 2, chain 2 and put 2 more into the corner. Now working along the bottom of the blanket, 1 crochet at the bottom of the cluster, 2 into the space, 1 at the bottom of the cluster. Now don't just go into that one stitch, just go in through that middle stitch, right through, then move to the space, right around that chain space, put 2 crochets all the way to the end. So I'm at the corner and I've put my 2 crochets in the corner, chain 2, and I'm going to put another 2 into this corner. This is the opposite corner. Now we're going to work back up the side and I'm going to put 2 crochets into each space, just like I did on the other side. So what I'm going to do is, I've done my 2 in that last stitch and I need to get up to here. So I'm going to chain 2 and into here I'm just going to do 1 stitch and then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that chain of 3. Just slip stitch, and that's given me my last corner. Snip your yarn, pull it through your stitch, put that on a darning needle and then just stitch it in down here where you can't see it. And this is your little comfort blanket all finished, and this is your top and your sides, and this is the bottom and your corner. A super simple, easy pattern. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel.